In this video we're going to talk about multiplying polynomials by a constant or a monomial multiplied by a monomial or binomial. So what we do for the different steps, we just multiply the coefficient numbers and then we multiply the variables using the laws of exponents. So here's an example. We have a constant which is 4. We're going to multiply by the monomial 3x. The rules say we just multiply the coefficients or just multiply the numbers. So 4 times 3 is 12. Because there's no x here, and this is x to the power of 1, our answer is still x to the power of 1. What this means is you're going 4 times 3x, which is 12 times x, which is 12x. 12x actually means 12 times x. Our next example is a constant multiplied by a binomial. Binomial is because it has two terms. The distributive property says I will multiply the 3 into the bracket twice. So I'll go 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times 2 is 6. X to the power of 1 is just left as x to the power of 1. I take the 3 and I distribute it in to the 4. This is a positive 3 multiplied by a positive 4, and I get a positive 12. So my answer is 6x plus 12, and this is written in standard form. Remember, all answers must be written in standard form. Our next example gets a bit trickier because of the negative. So remember, when we distribute in all 3 times, since this is a trinomial, I'm distributing in the negative 2. So negative 2 times a negative n squared. Negative n squared is actually just negative 1 n squared. So it's negative 2 times negative 1, which is positive 2, and then the n squared doesn't change. Negative 2 times positive 2n is negative 2 times 2, which is negative 4n, which turns into a minus 4n. Keeping in mind that a negative 4n and a minus 4n are pretty much exactly the same thing. We're allowed to change that from a negative 4n, and we can say that's now a subtract 4n. They're just symbols that we can manipulate when we need to. Then the negative 2 times the negative 1 is going to be a positive 2n. Sorry, just positive 2. And then I look and I make sure everything's in standard form based on degree. And this question is in standard form, so that answer is done. Now, we'll do the same couple of questions using models. So again, we have 4 groups of 3x's. We have one group of 3x, 1, 2, 3x, 1, 2, 3x, 1, 2, 3x. We have 4 groups of 3x, so it gives me 12 x's. The next one says I have 3 groups of 2x plus 4. So here's the first 2x plus 4, the second 2x plus 4, the third 2x plus 4, and altogether we have 6x plus 12. And the last one is the negative 2. Now remember, because it's a negative 2, we must change the signs inside the bracket. That's called the additive inverse. So we are going to change these signs, and we will have 2 groups of minus 2n or n squared plus 2n minus 1. But because of the negative inverse, instead of the negative n squared, these are positive n squares. And because it's the additive inverse with this negative, instead of a plus 2n, I have the white ones representing minus 2n's, and I have 2 of those. And because of the additive inverse in this negative, instead of a minus 1, I get a plus 1, and I have 2 groups of those. So I have positive 2n squared, minus 4n, and plus 2. Now on this next slide, we're talking about multiplying a monomial by a monomial, like we did in the last slide. But in the last slide we had constants. Now we're putting in some variables here as well. So we're going a 4x multiplied by a 3x. Before we just had 4 multiplied by 3x. So the first thing we do is we multiply the numbers. So 4 times 3 is 12. X to the power of 1 multiplied by x to the power of 1. The laws of exponent says when the bases are the same, and here the bases are both x's, we add the exponents. So x to the power of 1 multiplied by x to the power of 1 is x to the power of 2. The next question, same thing, we distribute the 3x into the brackets twice. 3 times 2 is 6. X to the power of 1 multiplied by x to the power of 1. Bases are the same, they're both x's, so we add the exponents to get x to the power of 2. Now we take 3x and we multiply it by 4, and we go 3 times 4, which is 12, and x to the power of 1. On this situation, it looks pretty confusing because this now looks like 3 times 4. Keep in mind, that's 3x. So now in grade 9, we're going to start switching to brackets instead of the x sign, just to keep that confusing symbol kind of away, because again, when we think that looks like 3 times 2x, be really cautious when you're using x's. Brackets are always more probably going to help you a lot more than using those x's from now on. Next one, we have a monomial multiplied by a trinomial. So we'll do it 3 separate times. We go negative 2n times negative n squared. Negative 1 or negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. N to the power of 1 multiplied by n to the power of 2. The bases are both n, so we add the exponents. 1 plus 2 is 3. So we have 2n cubed. Now the next one, negative 2 times positive 2 is a minus 4. N times n, n to the power of 1, n to the power of 1, add the exponents to get n to the power of 2. And then our last one, we have a negative, a minus 2 multiplied by a minus 1. We get a positive 2, and then we just bring the n down as well. So our answer is 2n cubed minus 4n squared plus 2n, and again, written in standard form. As always, be very cautious about these negative signs. The negative signs are what really mixes up the grade 9s mostly. The positive signs, most people handle those well, but when you're distributing negative signs, make sure you are changing or using the laws of integers so that your answer comes out to be the same and correct.